Today's session is about developing the Fiori user experience using TypeScript. As Janina said, my name is Tobias Queck and I'm here with my friend Marius. Our session today will be split in 3 parts. First, we give you a quick refresher on what is Fiori Elements, what's Fiori Tools. If you guys know it already, I don't mind if you close your eyes for a second. If you don't, please listen carefully, it's really important. Then we talk a little bit about what's new, and similar to what Stefan said this morning, there are so many new things that happen, so we have to focus on a few, and we decided to talk a little bit about the open source area, what we did there, a little bit about TypeScript, and a little bit about FPM. The rest, if you want to know more, there are so many experts here from the Fiori tools, from Fiori Elements. Just grab one and talk to them. If you don't know who they are, grab me and I'll introduce you to someone. After me talking for quite some time, I'll hand over to Marius and he will actually show you everything live and in action so that you see that the things that I'm talking about and I'm promising are actually real. Okay, with that, let's start with a quick refresher. What is SAP Fiori Elements? SAP Fiori Elements is SAP's recommended framework to implement the SAP Fiori user experience. What does that mean? So we build a framework on top of UI5 that is metadata driven. So we take metadata and annotation coming from backend services exposed through OData. And then we build floor plans on top. Floor plans are the most common structures, page types that we saw in SAP's applications, and connected them to the metadata so that you can, out of the box, generate your application. And what we have learned or have seen in SAP in the last years is that we can actually cover more than 80% of all the newly built applications. So with Fiori Elements, we can cover a lot of the work that you've had to do handishly in the past just by using these standardized page types and metadata coming from the backend. The main pattern you see in most applications is a list report object page. Typical pattern, you have something where you filter data, then you see it in a list or table, then you select something and you go to an object-specific page that gives you all the details you need about. For that one, we have also 2 variances of. We have one which is called the analytical list page. There we add some charts to it that you can use to do selections, or the work list where you get pre-selected filter configuration that help you to do your work faster. In addition to that, we also have a rather new floor plan. New is relative. I think this one is also more than a year old by now. That allows you to build something like a form page where you can just enter data that's then stored in your backend, you're done, and you move on. And the last pattern we have, or the last page type we have, is the overview page. And the overview page helps you to structure content for one specific context or area on one application, and then get the most important information at your fingertips, but also navigate quickly into where you need to do your work. As I mentioned, we at SAP, we cover 80%, at least 80% of the applications with Fiori Elements. But sometimes the standard doesn't cover everything, so you need to break out a little, you need to do a little bit of freestyle or custom development. And to make that easier for you, we have decided to introduce something we call the flexible programming model. The flexible programming model helps you when you get stuck with the existing floor plan. Imagine, for example, you have the list report and you need some custom column in there. So in your table, you need a custom column that's not metadata driven, that is really special for your use case where you need to do some programming. So we allow you to add a custom column, or you need a custom field, a custom action, or maybe a full section in your object page on your list report where you have your custom content. And custom content can mean everything here again. You could have something like a completely freestyle developed UI5 fragment, or you can also use our building blocks. Building blocks are the parts of the Fiori Elements floor plan that we just put together like little Lego bricks for the floor plans. But if you need one of them, you can also use them in your custom section, for example. Like you can move the table in there, or you can take the filtering, or the form fields. All these kind of things you can then put together. And if even these custom section, custom actions, so on don't help you, but you need a fully freestyle page, sure, take our custom page, use our building blocks, or use whatever you want. You can still nicely integrate it with the rest, with the object page, with the list report, and you have a really nice application following the standard as much as you can. I would always recommend follow the standard as much as you can. It saves you a lot of trouble in the future on maintenance. But if you can't, just go and do the custom thing you need to do. What did I not mention? Oh, I did not mention the controller extensions. Of course, you can also add a controller extension to all your Fiori Elements pages and then have your completely custom logic there. And I think Marius will show you later on how you could use that, for example. A great framework is great. However, without great tools, it sucks to use it. we're live streamed. So you have a beep now heard. It is not great to use it if you don't have great tools. So that's why we also developed or put lots of efforts into the SAP Fiori tools. The Fiori tools help you from the beginning when you generate an application to the end when you deploy it to your backend system. You have everything in between there. We have really easy to use tools where you have UI elements that allow you to click and configure your application. We also have language server support that you can do auto-completion wherever you need it, and so on and so on. So we have lots of things there in the whole development cycle. The latest one we added was actually some troubleshooting help, so you can now, when you have some issues in the generation or when you have some issues in one of our tools, you can directly jump into SAP guided answers and get your help there. So the tools really try to cover end-to-end your process. The tools are available as VS Code extensions, so you can install them now if you like locally in your VS Code. However, if you prefer using SAP Business Application Studio because you like to get a fully configured environment by SAP for you that is hosted that you can use anywhere, please go for SAP Business Application Studio. Our Fiori tools are there. So that was a quick refresher. I hope everybody know what I'm talking about when I say Fiori tools or Fiori elements. If not, don't worry. There's always your search engine of choice, like Google or anything else. Just type it in there and you'll find information. And again, Marius and I are here, lots of experts on the topic talk to us, and we'll really like to talk about these topics. What is new? So lots of things are new on the Fiori tools, but my focus today with you is the open source part. Last year we announced quite boldly that we are totally committed to open source. Our goal is, or our goal was and is and will be, all our tools will be open sourced. How long that will take, I can't tell you exactly. That's quite a process, because in the process of open sourcing it, we also do some cleanups and restructuring so that they're better useful for you. The key projects there, or the key repositories that you'll find are the OpenUX tools. And in there are also a few new modules that we did in the last year. The one that I want to mention especially is the deploy tooling. So if you do anything around deployment, deploying a Fiori Elements application, deploying any kind of UI5 application to an ABAP-based backend, please have a look at our tooling. It helps you to abstract from all the complicated things like how do you do authentication with the different systems, how do you do it on bus, how do you do it locally, how do you do it on a Windows machine or a Mac, and so on and so on. So the deploy tooling is really nice, abstracting all this away, and it's of course integrated in the Fiori tools, but you can also use it separately. And it also allows to deploy adaptation projects, by the way. And we have also project access, low-level library, making life way much easier. Based on internal demand, actually, we also have a library writer, so you can also now create a UI5 library project with these modules, TypeScript, JavaScript, whatever you prefer. And my favorite little module, that's really a little module only, is the create module. That one you can call by just calling npm init at SAP UX, and then it will help you to add or remove things from your existing Fiori tools projects. It is growing right now. We don't have everything in there, but our goal is to put all the little artifacts that you can add or remove in there and allow by that to grow as you go when you work with Fiori tools or the Fiori elements. And TypeScript, as I said, I was super excited. So everything is TypeScript supported. Whatever you generate, you can generate in JavaScript or TypeScript as you like. And also we added more building blocks to our writer so that you can have some simple way to add building block configuration into your Fiori Elements applications, and even more extensions we added there, as a few to list. OpenUX tools is not everything on the open source side. We also have a project, and that one I really recommend to you. It's called the OpenUX OData project, and in there we have a mock server, an OData v4 mock server. That thing is amazing. If you need a mock server for OData v4, it actually works also with OData v2, but if you need it for OData v4, look at that project. It is a really, really nice and super flexible mock server. We also took over the UI5 language assistant. I hope most of you know that already. So this one is now also taking care of the Fiori tools team, and we did quite a few improvements over the last year and are fully committed to also keep this state of the art as we do it for all the other tools. And the latest one I mentioned before, the guided answers extension, helping you to solve problems when you run into them. Fiori Elements, lots of new things. Focus again the flexible programming model. I also will try to keep this a little shorter because I think I'm already running over time, and Marius gets eager to my right here, and he will anyhow show you all that live in action. So there's more functionality available in our extension API, more things where you can hook in your own functionality. We made sure that everything is properly typed so that you get proper interfaces when you use TypeScript and know what you can do there. The building blocks have been improved based on your feedback. I'm looking for Holger. I can't see Holger right now. He was very vocal last year on things that were missing, so we added a few things there. I'm not seeing Volker right now. Volker also gave us feedback. We did a few things there, and we're not done there. There are still things that can be improved, so don't get me wrong. I think our stuff is great, but everything can be greater or better. So if you use our things and find something, always talk to me, talk to anybody. We want to hear from you so that next year I can say your name and then say, hey, by the way, because what XYZ said to me, we have now that in our Fiori tools or in our building blocks. Also, since we own the UI5 language assistant now, a way better integration with the building blocks is now done there. Last one, and then I really hand over to you, Marius, so don't get nervous over there, the FPM Explorer. FPM Explorer, no idea what that means. Google it or search somewhere else. Fiori Elements Flexible Programming Model Explorer, and it will bring you to a page where you can find out what the flexible programming model is actually about, and you have some live sections there where you can change code, see how it behaves. So it's really the best starting point to learn something about the flexible programming model. We have enhanced it quite a bit over the last year. We also made things searchable, because if you enhance things, you usually get into that problem. There's lots of content. How do I find my content? And the last one is you can also download the sample projects from there and continue locally on your machine. And since I see you open your laptop right now, yes, you I'm talking to, search for it later. Now you focus here on stage, because I'm handing over to Marius. So I'm handing over to the next generation to show you actually that what I promised and told you is real. And yeah, without further ado, Marius, the stage is yours. I'm going down and also watch you, so have fun.
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Tobias, for the introduction and also for leaving me alone here. I want to go to my development environment here. And what I want to show you today is how it actually feels like to develop Fiori Elements applications with the SAP Fiori tools, and also how TypeScript fits into this picture and how convenient it really is to do this. If you like this content, if you like the framework, the technologies, I also recommend you to look at the hands-on session happening at 2 p.m. today, where you can really go in depth here and also get your hands dirty, try this out yourself, because I can only scratch the surface here to show you what's possible and hint you at the things. I also want to focus on the UI layer, so I already have a CAP project running with an OData service, some mock data, and also some very simple annotations to get a list report object page running. We will see that in a minute, but it's nothing that you cannot do in a few minutes, so it's really just to focus on the app generation here. The CAP project, of course, already works, but maybe it wasn't generated just today, so the versions are not quite up to date, but in order to use the new TypeScript features with Fiori Elements and CAP here, we need to make sure that we have some prerequisites fulfilled. Luckily, we have the OpenUX tools, which allow us to upgrade our project so that we have everything set. And I will just quickly execute the script. And in a few seconds, this should write into a package JSON and do an npm install. Hopefully. OK, took a little bit longer, but let's see the changes. We see we have some things we need to do. We need to have a new CAP CDS version, a minimum version. We need the CDS plugin UI5 installed, which basically connects the toolchains of CAP and UI5 to get things like the TypeScript transpilation working. And we also have NPM workspaces, which was also mentioned before in the keynote, which allows us to have a better dependency management in our monorepo style here. With all of this, our project is ready for TypeScript app generation. But before I do that, maybe a few words about the use case, because there's already a backend with some business logic. We're looking at a travel service, so we will be creating an application where we can view and manage travel bookings, mainly flight bookings for some customers. What we want to look here at is the sustainability factor. So we want to enable some kind of program to plant trees in order to compensate some carbon emissions. But we will look at the use case in detail once we get there in the implementation. So with this, I will close this. We can start the app generation. As Tobias mentioned, we can either use Visual Studio Code locally or the Business Application Studio. I have Visual Studio Code here, and I have the Fiori tools installed, which you can do for free right now, or maybe after the session. So the first thing I want to do is opening the command palette and executing the application generator. This is this kind of wizard thing that allows us to fulfill all of the things that we need to input in order to get our application. We want to have an SAP Fiori app, which is a list report page, just showing some travel bookings, viewing them in an object page. And this will now have different ways to connect to a data source, because you need some kind of OData backend. You can choose some system, you can choose a deployed OData service, you can even choose the SAP Business Hub. But I have a local CAP project here, so this can also be automatically detected. I only have one right here, and the service is also directly here. We can keep the main entity to travel and also keep the rest here. I will need to give a name. We will call this just manage travels, because we will manage travels, and maybe some nice description. Important for us here is we want to have TypeScript, so I'm going into the advanced options, just enabling TypeScript, and that's all we need to do. Let's finish this. By the way, if you're missing this TypeScript option, then the reason might be that some of the prerequisites are not fulfilled. But don't worry, even if you don't want to execute the command that I executed, you can also have an option in the tooling where you can also enable those things directly in the app generation. So this now generated all the files that we need. It's also installing dependencies, but we can already look at the structure. If you know an UI5 app, and I guess all of you have seen an UI5 app, this looks very similar because it is just an UI5 app with Fiori elements, with the Fiori elements libraries loaded in. So we have our manifest.json, our component, which is in TypeScript now, because everything will be in TypeScript. This will be very nice. And we also have the TypeScript tooling directly here, so that we don't have to worry about the tool chain. All of this just works out of the box. And also CAP integration with the CDS annotation file, so we can directly get started. While I was talking, npm installation was luckily a little bit quicker than the other command. And the application information from the Fiori tools directly opens. This is kind of the start page for one app. It shows us all important details, kind of a status if everything is all right, and also gives us different actions that we can do here on the application. I want to start with just previewing it to see what we can work with. So what's the basis for this demo here, that you also have a feeling of what was already done before. This will now load the CAP service, load some mock data in SQL, SQLite memory database, and start it up in the browser. Looking at this app, it's already a list report. We already have some columns. This, as I said, just comes from metadata, so nothing coded in any language yet. And we also have a simple object page, which we will extend, of course. But I just want to highlight that this is already a fully functioning enterprise-ready application. You have great features here, like things like value helps, which go against another entity to get some filters, or you can move columns around. So a lot of things you can do just by using Fiori elements. But I want to look at sustainability here. So the first thing that I actually want to achieve is adding a new section to this object page where we can have some kind of great visualization to motivate us to do something for the climate, and also have a way to join this program, plant some trees, pay maybe a fee for it, and see all the details in one place. If I just want to have an option to tick a box, we could also just add this to our annotations, have it as a form up here in the section that is already there. But I want to really also have a visualization to show you that we can have our own control here and can do whatever we want to do. So as Tobias already mentioned, for the flexible programming model, which we can use here, we can add a custom section, and this just allows us to do anything that we want. And also we have great Fiori tool support for it. So let's jump into the Fiori tools. And on the application info, we can see the page map. As the name basically suggests, we have a map of our pages. So right now we have a list report, we have an object page, we see the dependency, we have a navigation between them. They both go against the travel entity. And we cannot just view the pages, but we can also modify them and change them. For example, we can jump into the object page to see the complete structure. So we have our header, our section, our footer. In this section, we currently only have one, which is the travel section. So let's just simply add another one here, which I will call sustainability. Also assigning a fragment name, which will be the file name. And we want to place it after the existing travel section. And this now generates all the files that we need, restarts the server. You can also already open the file. And this is really just an XML fragment in UI5. So you can do anything that you want here. This is your blank canvas. You can add your own controls, your own visualization logic, but also reuse building blocks from Fiori elements, for example. Maybe refreshing the application. We can now see that a new section appeared. The content is not that creative at the moment, but this is automatically generated, and I want to fill it with something new now. I prepared this because I don't want to spend too much time on this. There's so much we want to cover today. But this is a pretty standard fragment. We have a fragment definition. We have a VBox to vertically align our controls. We have a message strip just to remind the end user that there is a way to plant trees now, compensate carbon, which will only be visible if the UI is in edit mode. So if it's in display mode, this one will be hidden. We will also see that now. We have a grid for responsiveness, and then an image, which actually isn't there, which I have to add with some magic. Now it appeared, wow. And we have a form where you can change data and display data. The special thing about the form is this is one of those building blocks, so we don't have to define things like labels, form elements, form containers. We just refer to an annotation, and Fiori elements does all the rest. So all of this is done for us. OK, let's try this out. And we have our new visualization here. I mean, it's not perfect. The image is quite big. It's also a little bit unnecessary to scroll here. But I think you get the point. You can add your own control here, whatever you want. Once we go into edit mode, we also see our nice message strip, which has dynamic visibility. And we can join this Trees for Tickets program to plant, in this case, 29 trees, pay 29 euros. We can save it, and we're done. So in a few minutes, with those few clicks, we edit our own visualization, our own logic here, our own data. And yeah, the options are basically endless. But looking at this, honestly, it's very easy to ignore this. So I can just change the booking fee, press save, and I don't even care about this. But we want a good amount of trees to be planted for our bookings. So what I want to do is I want to show a little reminder that whenever this program was not selected, that yeah, maybe you can still do it. You can plant trees for just this little fee. And I want to do this whenever somebody presses on save. So if someone presses on save and this is not ticked, I want to show a dialog where you still have the option to do so. So you might realize that this is kind of a different technical use case than what we did before, because before we added something visually on the page, but now we want to add our own business logic and let the Fiori elements flow call ourselves. For this, we can use one of those controller extensions that were also already mentioned. And we, of course, also have great tool support. So going back to the page map, we can click on this extension icon, add our controller extension. I will just call this object page extension. And this will generate all the files, restart the server. And of course, this is TypeScript. I mean, everything that is generated in TypeScript mode will be TypeScript, and we also have great type support for this. Right now, this has an on-init override, so we can do some page initialization. We actually don't really care about this because we don't want to initialize, but we want to intercept the saving. For this, Fiori elements has the so-called edit flow, which we can intercept with some event handlers. So what I can just do here now in the overrides at the edit flow, and there's the on before save, which we can define. And I will also just type this context to make sure that TypeScript knows where we are. And maybe just to double check that this works, I will just give a quick alert. So if I press on edit and save, we see the alert appearing. So just by adding one thing by the tools, we now have our own entry point to get our own business logic running. And of course, here creativity is the limit, so we can do whatever we want. In our case, we only wanted this to appear if this is not checked, so we somehow need access to the data. But this is also easily done. For this, we can get access to the binding context of the object page. We could just do this by ID, somehow getting the page, getting the context. But in Fiori elements, when you write your extensions, we also have some more convenient functionalities. We have what we call the extension API, and we can see this in action, which is, of course, typed because we are in TypeScript. And this allows some more abstract, page-dependent operations that you can do. In our case, I want to get the binding context. And honestly, this might be undefined, but I will just force it to be a context because I don't want to care about error handling. And then we can just get this model context to do whatever we want. So I want, say, get property. And only if this checkbox is not checked, the property is in the data model called go green. And let's move the alert in here. See if this works. So now it is shown, and if I press this, it's not shown. OK. So now we added our own coding. We integrated with the existing data. But I want to show a better dialog than just this alert, because that's not what we want to do. So instead of doing an alert, I will say open dialog. And we might need to get the context to change the flag to true and remove this one. So this function has to be created. We can make this private and async. We get the context. And we return a promise. This is, again, TypeScript, so also our own coding is very well typed, and we could also define our own types and do whatever we want. In this open dialog function, now the only thing I want to do is I want to get my dialog, and then I want to open the dialog. With regards to creating a dialog, there are different ways to do so. We could just call the constructor of the dialog control here, but what I like is separating my logic from layout and structure, so I will add an XML fragment, which I will call trees dialog. And for this, I also already prepared the structure. So we have a fragment definition. We have a dialog with some title, with an icon. We have content with a VBox, just to vertically stack things, and have some margins. And that's about it. Looking at this dialog, I want to have two simple things in it. I want to, again, have a message strip, which we can also just put in because it's not big magic. But then I also want to have some kind of control to, in this dialog, still join this program to plant some trees. And you could use a building block here, the same building block that we also use in the custom section. But I really want to show you that you're flexible. You don't have to use anything from Fiori elements at all. So I will go with another approach, which is a switch. And here, you, by the way, also see the UI5 language assistant in action. So we can just see whatever we need. I want to have an ID. And I want to bind the state against our property. And let's also add some text to yes and no. And this is all we have to do. Because we are going to bind the context that we get from Fiori elements, from the extension API, to this dialog, we can just bind and have a two-way binding here. But let's also make sure that we actually instantiate this, because otherwise this will fail. Loading the fragment, there are also different ways in UI5. But as you are in Fiori elements, you can make use of the extension API that gives you a very nice interface to directly make sure that this is added as dependent and everything that you have to do. So I'll go to the extension API and call the function load fragment. This takes an object as parameter. And I don't know all of them by heart, but we can always just use the types to see what we need to fill. So we have an ID. I will just call this dialog. And a name, which will be the fragment name. Hope I typed this correctly. This is always the critical part. And then we also want to have an initial binding context to bind our data. And we get this at param. The rest of those arguments we can ignore for now, because this should already be fine. This actually works with a promise, and I want to tell TypeScript that this is a dialog, because of course TypeScript cannot read XML files, so we need this casting here. This line is now also correct, so theoretically this should work. Let's just see how the state looks. I'm going to edit, to save, and we have an issue, but the dialog appears. So at least we have a message strip, we have a switch, we have this great yes and no. But the issue, and also probably why we got the error, is that in the background, this is already saved. So the process currently isn't waiting for our own business logic, which in this case doesn't make sense if we still want to change something. But luckily, we are in a modern language here. And we can use TypeScript, and also Fiori elements can use TypeScript. So what I'm going to do is returning the promise from OpenDialog. And I will just need to somehow create a promise which only resolves once the dialog is closed. So I will just do it this way. There are different ways to do so. Right now, this would never resolve, but then we can say, OK, attach after close. And after close, I actually want to destroy the dialog, because we have a static ID. And I want to resolve the promise. So let's see how this looks. Again, pressing on edit, saving. We see that the object page is waiting. Oh, actually, let me scroll up a little. That we can see this. We see that the object page stays there, and we can see that this doesn't work. Let's see if I can quickly fix this. Let me just restart the server. This should work now. Okay, let's go back to the object page. If I press on save and enable this, press escape, this is still not bound. Okay, I will try something out. I mean, I prepared this beforehand. Let's see if I did some mistake here. Okay, now I had some typo somewhere. I didn't change a lot now. It's just getting back to the dialog state how it's supposed to be. So we can also see that the coding already contains too much, but let's don't care about this. So on after close, we want to destroy the dialog and then resolve the promise. And that's what we're doing. So press on save. Press on save, and this now automatically syncs. I press on yes, and I can press escape to save it. The buttons that you now saw are actually also buttons I didn't add yet, but I will do that now. Because what I want to say is, OK, now you have to press escape in order to save, which is not really good user experience and also not accessible. So what I want to do in the next step is adding the buttons to the footer. And this was now completely spoiled because it's already there, but let's pretend I added them. I have a begin button, which has an ID save, which has a text save and is an emphasized button. And I have an end button, which is just a cancel button. So yeah, no big magic here. It was just done automatically now. The rest stayed completely the same. And now to add some event handling here, to really do something, if we press the buttons, I just want to get the begin button, attach the press event. And whenever I press the save button, I want to close the dialog, resolve. And whenever I press the end button, I also want to close the dialog. But we don't want the edit to continue. We want to abort the process because we pressed on cancel, so we don't want to save. So in this case, I will reject the promise, which will tell Fiori elements to stop what you're doing right now. And also in the escape case, I will also reject. So let's see if this works, I guess, because it was already like this. Save. If I press on cancel, nothing happens. If I press on save, it saves. So I mean, now it works. I don't know. Maybe I find the error later in the recording. But this is obviously not perfect. This is not the perfect styling. Having a switch and then a checkbox is also nothing that we probably want because of consistency. But I think it shows you how easy you can extend the logic. You can add your own controls, your own visualizations, but even your own business logic. You can hook into the Fiori elements process. So maybe to summarize while Tobias is coming back on stage. The first thing I showed is that it's very easy with a few clicks to generate a new Fiori elements application with TypeScript, with the SAP Fiori tools, just based on a hub backend. It could also have been any other OData backend or service. The second thing is, even though you already get a lot of great features like value helps, moving your columns and everything, you're still not confined to the floor plans. So even if you pick an object page, for example, you can still add your own visualizations, your own sections using the flexible programming model. And if you don't want to use any page type from Fiori elements, you can also use a custom page. Then you have your own set of view and controller where you're completely free to do whatever you want. But you can still use whatever you want to use. So you have this grow as you go thing ongoing. And lastly, if you add your custom code, you're not left alone. You have great tool support. You have UI5 language assistant. You have TypeScript and all the modern technologies at your hand. And you don't have to set them up yourselves. And with this, back to you, Tobias.
Thank you, Marius. And I loved your demo, absolutely. So I will always sit in the audience from now on. It was great to see, especially when you failed and got nervous. So I love that. And if you thought he was joking when he said that he will watch the recording to figure out what he did wrong, I promise you, he will. He will until he finds out what was wrong today. So thanks a lot, Marius. If you now want to get started, there's a hands-on session at 2 p.m. Marcel and Christian, please stand up, stand up, stand up. These two guys will do that hands-on session, so please talk to them, go to them, and you can also try that out, what you just saw here. And before you leave the room now, and before you leave UI5con today, I want you to remember 3 things. The first one, TypeScript, TypeScript, TypeScript. Honestly, I don't know how to summarize it differently. There's no reason not to use TypeScript anymore. If you want to use TypeScript with UI5, with Fiori, with the Fiori tools, go for it. Everything you need is there. When you start with Fiori elements and you feel, oh no, it limits me in my imagination, I can't do everything I want to do, no. We have the flexible programming model, and it is flexible. You can really do what you need to do there. Last but not least, open source. We are fully committed to open source. We want to get our tools out to you, everything open sourced. We want to show you what we're doing. We're proud of what we're doing. We want to be transparent. We want you to look into our code, but also we want you to contribute. So if you want to join the journey there and help us, please, please go for it. Even if you just look at our code and tell us how bad it is and how the things are wrong. Is Volker here? Volker, no, not here. These people we have, and they're great because we can learn from them. So please, 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 not just Volker, I just see Marian smiling. He also recently found something again. So please, people, join us on the journey. We want you, and we want to be with you on that journey together. And with this, Marius, I think we're done. We're open for questions now, so please, dear audience, bombard us with questions.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Tobias. Thank you, Marius. So I'm going to get equipped with all the microphones I can get, because I'm not quite familiar with throwing this
Can I throw it?
sound box. You can throw it here.
Yes.
So it either goes into the hand or in the face. Probably chances are equal. So
No, further back.
what do you want to know more? What are you specifically interested in? And I really want to see that cube flying.
Thanks. Hello? Okay. Okay, it's nice to see that you're going for open source and also your own generators. I like it. But why not merging or bringing it together with easy UI5?
Perfect question. Perfect question. Thank you. And that question was not planted. Perfect question. Yes, we're going for it. So if you look at the Easy UI5 sources, you find already references there going to some of our modules. So what we did, we took our generator that we had in the Fiori tools, and we didn't just put it out as a big blob, but we split it in smaller modules. We split it apart into writer components and prompting components. And these writer components, we are also starting to reuse in Easy UI5. You can find the references, you see how they're used there. Not everywhere yet, I agree with you, so there's definitely room for improvement. And if you're eager to do that, I'm also happy to help you if you want to do that commit and help to get it integrated more. But our strategy really is get these base components out there, reuse them everywhere, let the community do whatever they need on top, but the base is provided by us. And the very same we do for the SAP ship product. All the components out there, they're in there. We deliver them as a product, support, etc., but still you use them as you like, and you use them in Easy UI5 especially.
Okay, thanks. Great. I have another one, but maybe first.
I think over there.
Question into the same direction. Are you using the UI5 tooling already under the hood, or do you plan to do that?
Absolutely, yes, sorry, of course. So we did not fully invent everything from scratch. So everything you see there regarding the middlewares, regarding the tasks we are running, it's all based on the UI5 tooling 3.0 by now as well. So another announcement in the keynote this morning that we were also happy about. So we are using the UI5 tooling as a base for our tooling, and we're using UI5 as a base for the framework.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
5 rows behind you.
One question, what are the prerequisites from the backend side, from the SAP system? We have a lot of customers using Fiori on-premise, so what are the prerequisites for the TypeScript support and the flexible programming model?
Yeah, so generally for the TypeScript support, there are no real prerequisites because it's a front-end thing going on. So the backend doesn't care if it's TypeScript or JavaScript. And for the flexible programming model and everything that we showed, we are running against an OData v4 backend. So you will need an OData v4 service, but then you're basically good. So that should work with the latest technologies. And as I said, whatever you use in the front end doesn't really matter if the protocol is the same.
Okay, so there's no prerequisite regarding if your SAP UI5 version, a minimum version, which is necessary?
Okay, there is, I mean...
So from a TypeScript perspective, not really. From a Fiori Elements perspective, yes. I don't know the numbers by heart, but I think it's 194 where we have the first floor plans in there. I might be lying, that I would have to look up. So yes, so from a UI5 version, you're right, there are limitations.
Yeah.
And also with regards to TypeScript types, of course, with new versions, we add new improvements here. So maybe in older versions, you don't have the perfect types, but we're working on it. And as higher as you go, as better the types are.
Yeah. You might have seen in his demo that there was also the DTS file generated next to his controller extension. And that one, for example, we are used to also improve the types. The UI5 types are great as they are, but they also have some limitations. So we also use this kind to make it simpler for you. So if you're missing types, that's also a nice quick workaround that you can do in your projects if you run into these limitations.
Thank you.
Hello. We as customer use some standard SAP applications and sometimes extend them. I just wonder if you implement some standard applications in TypeScript already?
Yes. Okay, so I'm not from the organization that develops the application, but I work very closely with one team that actually did TypeScript before we told them to do it. That's why I know there's for sure an application that is developed in TypeScript. There's not just one, there are more than one. But this one I can tell you for sure because they did it before we had our tooling ready. So that's also something I always like. If you think something is missing in the Fiori tools, you go ahead with it and you tell us and we get it into the tools that life gets easier for you. So yes, the short answer is yes, and for quite some time already.
So we can expect more and more applications in TypeScript.
I think Stefan even announced that in the keynote, right? Didn't he state, Sebastian, Katja, do I remember correctly? You are product owners. I usually don't like to make promises. I think he stated in the keynote that SAP is fully committed to it, and that is the first choice as a programming language for building UI5 applications. If I promised something I was not supposed to do, just an architect. I think 8 rows in front of you was a question.
Hi. So I know we are talking mainly front-end right now, but to be honest, most of our custom applications, if we develop them, they are based on on-premise systems, ERP, AS4. Most of the standard services, even the standard APIs, are still in OData v2. Do you have any information if that may change in the future? Because
that
OData
one I cannot
v2
state anything about it. So,
okay. I expected that.
Oh, over there. Perfect.
Okay, so not a question, but an answer. Basically, you have always the capability to use the Fiori front-end server from a higher version. So basically, Fiori front-end server with UI5 version 108, this Fiori front-end server 2022, is working against an ERP system. And so if you use that one, you can do RFC connections, and if I'm right, then you need a bit manual effort and to also expose it from the front-end server with the newest gateway as V4. So this is somehow possible, but will be investment. But as said, we also hope that you go over and follow the journey of SAP, and with S4HANA, the things will be okay. The front-end server, maybe to mention that one, the front-end server 2023, this one will be the ones that also comes with UI5 version 120. Also still continue to work, but it has a higher NetWeaver version, so you need the latest, greatest ABAP to be able to do so. But besides that, also the same principle. And also the confirmation, yes, we have many commitments at SAP to go for TypeScript.
So it's great to have product owners in the room. I love them most of the time.
Next
I think a third row.
Oh. You managed it somehow, I tried.
Oh. Okay, so there's no quarterback lost on him.
Just in addition to the question, so I have already an S4HANA 2022 available, and there's more and more OData v4 services. So SAP is really investing in this area, also for public or for released APIs, but also for their own applications.
Thank you for letting us know.
Hi. My current applications are in TypeScript. Is there a way to convert them to this TypeScript style?
Sure.
Do you have some planned or in mind?
In the end, you have to still do it on your own. So sure, we could think about some scripts that generate TypeScript for existing JavaScript or put it anywhere behind it. However, I would still encourage you to do the exercise of actually going through your code and doing that. Let me say it differently. We also moved the coding of our Fiori Elements framework from JavaScript to TypeScript. And yes, we did also a little bit of generation at the beginning, but then we also forced people to do it because it helped them to learn and it made sure that the code gets better while they're doing it. So my recommendation is, while you could go for an easy way out generation approach, I would recommend to actually think it through and do it manually. For the configuration aspects, I don't think we have something in the tools that just flags or makes them TypeScript enabled. So there might be a good idea to maybe generate a project on the side and then do the code move over into that project so that you have all configuration ready from the beginning.
Thank you.